We have some new information for everybody about the Trump administration's bombing of the Syrian capital Damascus. At destroyed Syria lab, workers say they produce antidotes to snake venom, not toxic weapons. U.S., British, and French strikes slammed into a series of targets around Damascus that the Western country said were linked to the Syrian government's chemical weapons program. So, this is being reported everywhere else in the world except in Western media outlets, which is really bizarre. It's made me feel like I'm the crazy person and that I'm the one that's doing the conspiratorial thinking, but it's not me. I didn't make up this article. You guys can see it. It's plain as day. And they go on to give pretty damning evidence to this effect. So for one thing, some chemical weapons regulators were routinely in this building. So that alone should give you pause and say, well, hold on now. So the U.S. and France and the U.K. are claiming this was a chemical weapons facility. Well, why didn't chemical weapons regulators who were there say that there were chemical weapons there? In fact, they said the opposite. They said there are no chemical weapons here. Now, furthermore, people visited the site the day after the bombing. Now, if this was really a chemical weapons facility that they bombed, you would not have been able to be in the vicinity of where the building was, because if you blow up chemical weapons, that releases the chemical weapons, and you want to stay away from there. Now, I also mentioned when this originally happened, what kind of a fucking genius would have a chemical weapons facility in the middle of their fucking capital? You wouldn't do that. That makes no sense. That defies all logic. And on top of that, we've discussed, and in fact, this was a giant story a few years back, Assad actually gave up his chemical weapons. Remember when John Kerry and the top Russian official were doing a press conference, and the Russian official said, hey, what can Assad do so that you don't bomb him? And Kerry said, well, he can give up his chemical weapons, but that's not going to happen. Well, he gave up his chemical weapons. They came out the next day and said, done, here, come take the chemical weapons. So, and remember, this is also at a time when Assad has basically already won the war. So if he's already won the war, why would he do the most gratuitous, asinine thing imaginable, which is use chemical weapons on civilians and then drag the West back into the conflict? It's just, I mean, listen, all it takes is a minimal amount of skepticism in order to go, okay, this seems like bullshit, but now we know from firsthand reports on the ground. Just the fact that people are able to be in the surrounding area immediately after the attack proves it is not a chemical weapons facility. And we know exactly what it was, and there used to be chemical weapons regulators who were in the frickin' building to begin with. They were there all along. So Max Blumenthal tweeted about this. Take a look. He said, just like Clinton's 1998 strike on the Al-Shifa pharmaceutical plant in Sudan, which he falsely claimed produced nerve gas for bin Laden, the U.S. wiped out Sudan's supply of veterinary drugs, including one crucial in preventing the spread of parasites to children. State terror. So what he's talking about there is a case from the late 1990s where Bill Clinton did a bombing, and they claimed, oh, we got Al-Qaeda. That is what we did. We went after Al-Qaeda, and we took out a key Al-Qaeda stronghold where they were making chemical weapons and stuff. Well, come to find out it wasn't. It was just a pharmaceutical plant, the only one in Sudan, by the way. And that ended up, damning many people who were sick, who needed their medicine, to death. So that's what he did. And then there's also other parallels. I'm not sure I buy these parallels as much. Back when Clinton did it, it was in the midst of the Monica Lewinsky scandal. And then people were claiming, well, the reason he did this bombing is to try to get everybody off the Monica Lewinsky scandal, which is like distracting from a scandal with a way, way worse scandal because you just bombed a pharmaceutical plant. That makes you a fucking war criminal. It's one thing to be a philanderer and get blown in the Oval Office. It's another thing to be a goddamn war criminal. So Trump, same thing. It's like, the Mueller investigation is onto him, and look out, they just raided his lawyer's office, and yada, yada, yada. So what, distract from that by becoming a war criminal? Doing an offensive attack on a country, that didn't attack us? And I mean, maybe that's in the realm of possibility, because one thing is certainly true. the one thing Trump does that unifies mainstream media and the establishment in his favor is when he does offensive bombings. It happened the last time he bombed the Syrian airbase. You had people like Fareed Zakaria saying today's the day he became president. You have idiots like Brian Williams talking about the beauty of our weapons taking off to go blow up innocent people. So the one thing he does that gets all, Fox News is always going to blow Trump, but then the only thing he could do that gets the so-called liberal outlets on his side is bomb something. And then they go, oh, now he's being serious because he's doing what every other president does, which is massacre innocent people and bomb things offensively. So I don't know, maybe there's an element of truth in the idea that they're distracting from scandals, but to me, I like to focus just more on the fact that the bombings in and of themselves are wrong. The idea that it's like we should focus on the other scandals, like, ooh, that's where the real meat and potatoes are. The Stormy Daniels thing or the Russia. No, this is the scandal. The scandal's right in front of your fucking nose. When you bomb a country that had no intention of attacking us, there's a fucking scandal. Wasting our tax money on this, violating international law. But here we are, and now we know, and I guarantee you're not going to see this report anywhere else. There are going to be some new media outlets that'll probably report it, but you're not going to see this in mainstream media in the West. You're just not going to see it. I haven't seen it. All I've seen it on is non-Western outlets. And again, it appears at face value, there were giant problems with what happened here because who puts a fucking chemical weapons facility in the middle of their capital, and how the fuck can you have people in the area after the attack on a chemical weapons facility? If it was a chemical weapons facility, you couldn't be in the fucking vicinity, but everybody's there. So right away, okay, this is not really a chemical weapons facility. This isn't what they're saying it is. But all the evidence, at least right now, points to the fact that it was similar to what Bill Clinton did in that they're taking out basically, a pharma building is what it is. So go ahead, go check and see how many establishment outlets, mainstream outlets are bucking the narrative. None of them are. They're all pushing the same goddamn narrative. And even if you think, well, no, the real liberal outlet like MSNBC, they're pushing back. Not only are they not pushing back, we're going to get to a story in a little bit that shows that they're actually the worst of the worst.